Okay, so today I'm going to be making a Boba Fett holster for the Boba Fett Remodeled or Boba Fett Mandalorian Season 2. So I got my belt. I bought some leather that's You want your leather a little bit different to be about the same color as your belt. So we are going to be cutting this leather. And so the belt itself, I actually bought a Scottish kilt belt. I like how thick they are. They seem the same as Boba Fett's to me. Bought my belt long and I measured where I can cut it off because I'm going to be cutting my belt. I bought it too big for me, so I'm going to cut the belt so I can use that material for my strap. Then I'm sure my strap matches, and then this is already sewn as well, so that'll save me having to do any sewing on the strap. So this is the blaster in question. First thing I'm going to do is so at this point I want to put my blaster on the leather, and I want to fold the leather over the blaster, find where I can flatten the leather together and then mark that point, and then I know where to cut my leather. At this point I'm just going to do a straight cut all the way across. Now that that's cut, I want to put my blaster back on the leather again, and at this point I'm going to fold it over where the two edges touch and they're flush. And at this point I want to figure out where to cut the curve in the leather so that it still, covers the whole blaster, but it has that curve and it's just not all straight across. Once I get that figured out, I'm going to mark that just on the one side. I'm going to find the end of the blaster here, and I'm going to mark that past the end. You want room for the end to be able to fit. So now that I've cut halfway, I cut what I measured, that curve, I'm going to use that as a reference to mark the other half. So I'm going to line up the two edges here so that they're flush, and then I'm going to mark the same curve on the other side using this as a reference. And it doesn't go all the way, so once the curve ends you just want to cut straight once it straightens out. Now at this point, after I got it cut, I'm just going to double check the size, put my blaster in here, see how it fits. And it looks like this is going to work. So now I'm going to take these. These actually come in different sizes, but you take these and then and then you also want a hammer. You're going to hammer these. And what that does is that makes sure makes it easier for your needle. So we're going to sew these, but makes it easier for your needle to get through, and then also it's going to make sure that you have nice even holes lined up. So I don't want to do that all the way around the whole thing. Depending on your situation, you might want to take a piece of wood as a buffer. I don't want to ruin this table, so I'm going to use a piece of wood, and then I'm going to hammer the holes into the leather through that. Okay, so I've got one edge completely done, but when you get to a corner, you're going to want to switch to like a two-prong. That way you can change the angles, so you can kind of turn, if you know what I mean. So you're going to want to use a smaller, like a two-prong on the edges and the curves, and then the longer prongs on the straight areas. So I completed the sewings, or the hole punching. So I punched holes around the whole thing. Now I'm going to start sewing. I'm going to use a leather needle, and then I got some dark brown thread. You're going to want to use whatever thread is on your belt if you have thread on your belt. But you want your thread, whatever color thread's on your belt, you're going to want the same on your holster. So as you're sewing this, you're going to want to start from the inside. And that's so you can make sure that your knot is also on the inside, hidden from where people can view it. And then on the other side, you're going to want to finish from the outside so that your last knot is also on the outside or inside, so no one can see it. By the way, this thread is also, it's made of sinew, which is kind of a waxy leathery substance. Then when you're done, you can actually burn the knots, and then they kind of melt, and they will never come apart because they're melted. Okay, I got everything sewn. That's good to go. I left the bottom open. You can close that and have the whole thing sealed. I actually just left it open. Honestly, I just actually cut it too short, so it wasn't intentional, but it works. Not to be this guy, but make sure you like and subscribe. I find it really does help to say that, even when I'm watching stuff. If somebody says that, then I'll remember. But at least give me a like if you're enjoying this. So next I'm going to cut off a piece of this belt to make like a strap to hang from the belt. So now you're going to want to take your strap you cut and figure out how much you need to go around your belt. And you're going to want to mark that. You're going to want one of these hole punchers, leather hole punchers, to put holes in the leather. So then I took a piece of this leather I used to make the holster. I cut out a piece the same size. So this is going to be my front because it has the stitches. And then this doesn't matter, it's going to be my back. Okay, so I took this, I folded it, and put two holes this way. When you have your belt, it'll fold over the belt so that it looks like that. I'm going to take my scrap leather, take a Chicago screw. You could also use a rivet. Chicago screw. Put it through. Put it through both. Decided to use a smaller one. So put it through that one. Put it through that one. Helps if I get the right screw. Screw this on. Then you're going to want to do the same thing on the other side. So once that's done, you're going to want to put that on your belt and figure out where you want the bottom holes to be, so they can go through your belt but then also be secured on the bottom. And then use your hole puncher to punch through the leather. You're going to have to do one piece at a time though. So now I got these holes, both pieces. Once again, take a Chicago screw, put it in there. So this leather is really tough. It's hard to put holes through. So I cut this other leather a little longer, and that is actually what I'm going to make holes and attach to this, just because that'll be um, easier. But from the front, nobody's going to be able to see that. It's just going to be a little trick in the back here. So now this has holes. I'm going to use something using those holes where I want my holes to be in this. I'm once again going to use Chicago screws to secure the holster to the strap. Okay, for this part, you're going to want a long, thin piece of leather. You can cut it off of here, but I already had one on hand. You want to make sure, oh, and then you want to buckle, and you want to make sure that your leather and buckle are the same size. So you want to cut this to your buckle. So then you're going to want to stick it through through your leather. Fold it over like this. On the opposite side of your buckle. So then when you get the other side, you can come in, you're going to want to put little holes, but then your buckle is going to be able to work there. So realized I wasn't recording there, but what I did was put this here to measure where I wanted my thing, and then I used a magic marker to mark a little hole. Okay, so you're gonna use this hole. Fold it over. Use this hole. And you can see where you want your next hole. Okay, so then you got your two holes. You want a pretty big Chicago screw. Put that in one end. Put this in. You want this side up. Put that in there. Chicago through the other side. So now this side is done. I might actually, that's a little big. I might downsize this to a smaller screw. Okay, so I downsized. I went with one of these instead. So now much tighter fit. So that's much better. Snag your other end. It's going to come through here. So you're going to want to figure out where. And then you're going to want to switch and poke some holes with your little guy. Okay, so now I want this to be attached down here somewhere. Probably do it like down here. Wrap it around my leg. Where they are, so I'm going to put a hole here and down there. Okay, this is going to be the hard part. It's going to be a tight fit. You're going to want to start from the inside so you don't have to do any screwing. Take a Chicago screw. Get it in there. Screw. Gonna want to line this up. You want the smooth side, the buckle side, facing this. Okay, finally got it. forgot. So I cut a thin piece of leather. Some of the materials I use to make my strap. I'm going to measure this around. And I'm honestly just gonna super glue this. Fold it over itself, hold that till it dries, 30 seconds or so. Okay, and then once that's dry, cut off all the excess here. Okay, so I'll take this, put it on here, slide it up near the buckle. Phone started dying, so I had to move. Next thing, I'm going to take a little strap of leather, I put 3 holes, one on the bottom, one on one end, 3 on the other. This end I'm going to line up here. I'm going to put a hole right about there. Once I got that hole in, take a Chicago screw. And this is going to be on the back of your holster. Take the side with one hole, not 3, but 1. Put it face down. Okay, so you get that through. And on the front side, you're going to want your gun in there. And you're going to want to fold this over. And I bought this little snap thing that has a screw on the other side. Make a little mark so I know I'm going to put the snap on there. Just realized I didn't push record when I was getting this all finished, so I finished the snap. I made this hole a little bigger so it's easier to snap on. So now the blaster can snap in. I'm gonna dye this piece darker so it matches, and I'll dye this piece darker so it matches, but there it is, pretty much finished till it's dyed. Holster for Boba Fett Rearmored. If you're doing Book of Boba Fett, his holster is different. It's actually formed to the gun, so you don't want to use this for the Book of Boba Fett. This is just Rearmored. So good luck, have fun, thanks, love you, bye.